dragon's breath. It's like a powder, and a person can just show it to you on a paper, and if you just accidentally inhale it off the paper, or they can blow it in your face, and it turns you into a zombie. The guy I'm with goes, what? And then rolls the window down completely. I'm freaking out. I'm like, what are you doing? Put the window up. Hey everyone, it's Adele. How have you all been? I know I've been away from my channel for a while. I have just been experiencing the best health, the happiest times, the most inspiration, the most beauty in nature, the most connection and experience with the divine that I ever have in my life. And that's why I've been away for the most part. And it hasn't been perfect. This has also been the most difficult time of my life. But overall, as I look at my journey through life in Mexico, I'm realizing that I'm actually the perfect person to have been here at this time. And for anyone who's also thinking about it, I kind of wanted to offer some insights. Now, if you discover from this video that you are the kind of person who would not make it in Mexico, don't worry. In life, if we deeply desire something and we persevere, we can become the kind of person who would thrive under whatever conditions or circumstances that we desire in our life. Many people get stuck, they stagnate in life, they make excuses, they blame people, they don't actually stop, take stock of their life, look at their personality, look at the choices they've made, the effects they've had on people, their talents and skills, their weaknesses. It's so important when we stop and we figure those things out and we figure out where we want to go. Then that is when true transformation can occur. And many of you who followed my channel for many years, you know that maybe I like familiar things, okay? I like to find something that works for me and just stick to it. I like things that are familiar. I like things, places, foods, things that are familiar. I'm perfectly happy living out alone in the mountains in the middle of nowhere, living out on a farm in Montana in the middle of nowhere. These are things that make me happy, but when I stop and think about it, I don't think that God created a creature like me to be hidden out in the middle of nowhere. So now I am here, blooming, shining brightly, and living and enjoying my life in a way that I never would have imagined was possible before. And I can slowly, I've been here for a year, and I can slowly feel the attitudes, the anxiety, the stress, the constant stimulation, pressure of life in Western countries start to melt and start to come down. And I can feel something more alive start to bloom inside of me, and it's showing in many different ways. My creativity, also in my physical appearance. My skin has been the best it's ever been in my life, despite the fact that I just turned 40 this year. I feel happy, I smile, I laugh, I dance, I sing every single day. I bask in the sun, I swim in the ocean, and I am just grateful as hell to be alive, to have made it. I almost didn't make it so many times. I was ready to give up on this life, and I never would have known this reality was possible for me if I had done that. So I hope this message reaches someone who needs it at this time. Let's get into the video. So the first person who's not going to make it in Mexico, I'm very sorry to inform you, is the rule follower, okay? We have met tons of rule followers over the past 3 years. Guys, it's been 3 years since the pandemic started, okay? 3 years, we have run into rule follower after rule follower, right? These are the people who are like, the government says this, so you have to do that. Or a person who says, well, if we make this illegal, that means no one will do it, right? It doesn't work like that in life, and it especially doesn't work like that in Mexico. I experienced this when I had to deal with immigration in order to get my residency here. You'd think you're dealing with a government department. You'd be like, okay, well, as long as you meet the requirements and you hand in the documents and you do everything right, it should be no problem. Wrong. I needed a lawyer who knew the system My lawyer was friends with the people at the office. And the thing is that sure, you can follow the rules if you want to, but you might be waiting for years, you might get deported from that. You need to know people, you need to have connections. People who think the police are here to protect and serve. In Mexico, they sure aren't. And guess what? They aren't anywhere else in the world either. But it's especially obvious here in Mexico. Now, if you live in a place where I do, I am extremely lucky to live in the place that I do. It is a small city that is off the radar. There have been times when I visit big cities in Mexico and I talk to Mexican people there and they ask where I live and I tell them this city and they haven't even heard of it. Or if they have heard of it, they're like, oh yeah, why would you live there? I've never been there before. They don't know that this is just like a hidden gem jewel of a city. And I was scared of the police when I first came here because of stories I'd heard. They drive around in trucks here with like guns mounted on top and stuff like that. Like I'd never seen anything like that before. But I've lived here for over a year and they don't hassle you. They don't hassle me. I haven't seen them hassle anyone. They haven't hassled my friends. And I've noticed that actually a number of them are women. So I felt much better about that too. I would say generally in Mexico, you can't just look up the rules and think they're going to apply to everyone all the time, exactly how they're written. It just doesn't work like that here. And that comes to my second point. You need to be someone who can improvise and someone who is resourceful. If you're someone who needs things to always work the exact way you expect them to, if you're someone who needs things to be easily available, you are not going to make it in Mexico, okay? Sometimes certain things are not available here, so you have to find an alternative. And sometimes you can't just go to the store and get what you want or go to the government and get what you want. You have to wait or you have to ask around and find people. You have to be resourceful and find a way to make things work. Now me, I grew up poor, okay? But I didn't feel poor because I was very resourceful, very creative, and I always had to look out for opportunities. So I figured out how to get the things that I wanted. Even if I didn't have money or even if I didn't have access to them, I would figure it out some way. And these are skills that'll be very useful for you in Mexico. The third person who's not going to make it here is anyone who is clumsy, okay? If you're a kind of person who like steps in things or you like fall down randomly, I used to be very clumsy. One time I fell up some stairs. People fall downstairs. I had actually fell upstairs before in my life. If you're accident prone, clumsy, not paying attention, don't come here. Something very bad will likely happen to you. The streets where I live are cobblestones. And it's very charming and romantic, especially when I hear horses clip-clopping down the cobblestones sometimes during the day if there are farmers in town. But these can really snatch your ankles if you're not paying attention, and I actually had an ankle injury when I came here. It has healed very well from 1 year of walking on these crazy cobblestones. There are places where the sidewalk goes like this. The sidewalk is up at strange angles. There are cracks in the sidewalk. I have walked through places that have overhanging power lines that if you're not paying attention, you could walk into. I've been in areas where I had to physically step over downed power lines, okay? I had this one experience where I was in a city I'd never been to before and I was trying to find my way around, and normally I'm paying attention, but this time I don't know what happened. I had my phone and I was looking at it and I was walking and I was looking and I wasn't really looking up at this exact moment, and I walked into a tree branch. Now this tree branch was kind of low hanging and it was like pointing right here. It like went right into my forehead really hard, like boom. And it hurt so badly. In most major cities, like in Canada, for example, the tree would be pruned so that these branches are not, these pointing things are not out to get you. And it occurred to me that if I had been just a little bit higher, it would have taken out my eye. I've noticed a lot of overhead hazards, like if I walk down a street that has overhanging store, what is it, like the overhang at a store, the front part of a store that hangs out, or a market, it can sometimes be like right at forehead level for me. I noticed that many things here are at a lower level. The people here are generally shorter, all around. I noticed when I would go to a friend's house or if I would rent Airbnbs, the mirrors, and same thing for the change rooms, you know, to try and close. The mirrors were low. So I'd be looking in a mirror and like my head was cut off. And I was thinking all of these things, like I was trying to analyze it psychologically. I was like, wow, people in Mexico can't look themselves in the eye? Or are they ashamed? Like, because this is typically what people don't, they can't look themselves in the eye, right? And I was like, wow, this is very strange culturally. And then I just realized this is because most people are short in their head. They can look just fine into that mirror. Myself, I'm tall, so you got to watch out for the overhead hazards. I would definitely say my greatest danger in the city that I currently live in is cars. So if you're clumsy, you're not paying attention, you're on your phone, you can get hit by a car. There's no right-of-way pedestrian rights here. There's sometimes I have to cross major streets with no traffic lights. So I need to know if there's cars coming, if there's cars thinking of coming, cars turning. I have to pay attention and I have to be aware at all times. The fourth person who's gonna pass out living in Mexico is anyone who is squeamish or phobic. So yeah. You know, just in a walk down the street here, I can see lizards, I can see cockroaches, I've seen huge toads, and I've had a couple just little spiders in my house. But you know what else people get in their house where I live here that are way more common than spiders? Yeah, scorpions. I also saw a really beautiful large scarab on the street. I've seen a couple of them, you know, with like the horns and the claws and antlers, and the iridescent colors on the back that look like jewels. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, but they make really loud noises and they can be scary. I have also been in my apartment at night and heard like a really loud buzzing sound, and I'm like, oh God, what is this? I do what I always do when I'm afraid of something, get right up and go walk right over to it. So that's what I did, and it was actually just this little kind of shield bug, like a bright green shield bug. It was really kind of cool looking. I wouldn't have thought it would make such a loud noise, but yeah. I have a little cup that I use to catch bugs, and I slide a little thing and go and put it outside. So if you're really scared and you don't think you can function, snakes, lizards, scorpions, everything, it might not be for you. I have had 2 cockroaches in my house before, just 2. And it's because my house is literally open air. Like 8 months, no, maybe like 9 months out of the year, I sleep during the day, and at night my windows are completely open. I finally put screens on one of them, but I mean, there's open areas to the air in my house, and I love it like that. But yeah, things can come in. So yeah, that's how the roaches came in. And I learned how to deal with them the first time. I called maintenance guy and he came and got it and took it away from me, which was nice. But yeah, I don't like them, but I'm not scared of them anymore. And the final person is gonna get head-butted by a goat in Mexico.
Goats will be here through Saturday, and they're very friendly. Do not eat my pants. Ah!
Is someone who is too nice, someone who is too trusting or gullible. I have a story from many years ago back in Edmonton. I was dating someone who was absolutely had no street smarts, no street sense whatsoever. Unfortunately, this has been the choice of men I have chosen in my life. I like guys who had, the opposite kind of upbringing from me. I got the street smarts. I like someone who has a normal family and not a whole lot of obvious trauma. But these people have different types of trauma, repressed trauma, inability to be able to discern character on a person, inability to detect danger and deal with it appropriately. And these are not the kind of people I'm interested in anymore. But many years ago, this was the kind of guy I liked dating. And one time, we had gone, a day we were going to go for a walk in this park after dark, because I had a nice view of the city. I was like, oh, this will be nice. So we pulled into the parking lot, and it was like downtown. And immediately, we hadn't noticed before, I guess. So this guy comes over, junky looking, weird looking dude, knocks on the window. And we're in there like, And he's out there going, like explaining something or whatever. And the guy I'm with goes, what? And then rolls the window down completely. To this weird dude in a weird part of town in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere. And of course I'm freaking out. I'm like, what are you doing? Put the window up. To this weird dude in a weird part of town in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere. And of course I'm freaking out. I'm like, what are you doing? Put the window up. Here in Mexico, a decision like that can get you killed. Have you heard of scopolamine? This is otherwise known as dragon's breath. It is a very fine substance. It's like a powder, and a person can just show it to you on a paper, and if you just accidentally inhale it off the paper, or they can blow it in your face, and it turns you into a zombie. And they can like tell you to do things and you'll seem totally normal and you'll do it. They can be like, okay, we're gonna go to your apartment and you're gonna show me where all the goods are and help me put them in my car, and you'll just do it. This is like a thing that people are watching out for now. There was recently a story of a guy who lost his life in, I think this was Colombia, due to this, because people use it to, you know, take advantage of you and steal your things, but too much of a dose can kill you, and that's what happened. Here, you know, especially after the pandemic or around Christmas, there's all kinds of scams being run. Oh, is that a mosquito? And I just keep on walking. I don't even break my stride. So if you're someone who has trouble with that kind of thing, you may run into issues here. Don't recommend it. Okay, so that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks so much for watching. There's a couple of things. If you want to listen to something that I've got, if you want to read something that I've got, or if you want to meet me in person, I'm going to explain that for you right now. So number one, if you want to listen to something, my audiobook is currently available. It's called I Thought I Was White, Free Yourself from Racial Stereotypes and Live Well While the Haters Stay Mad. So this is a controversial as hell book that people are absolutely loving, which is stories from my life all around race, right? Dating interracially, segregation in school, which I experienced, racial, being called the N-word, all of it is in that audiobook. It is fun, it is funny, it's shocking, and I think you'll love it. Link is below. Next, if you want something to read, I don't talk about it often, but I have a book on Amazon. It is called Recollections, A Journey Through Therapy and Recovery. This is a very personal book about the time after my heart attack and, recovering from childhood trauma, getting through all of it, living alone in the mountains. It's a very personal book. It's kind of like a pet project. That's available there. A lot of people loved it, and that'll be linked below. This is random, but I also have been getting into low content books on Amazon. So like making coloring books and composition notebooks. This is my first experience with it. I have made a composition book about the corn kid. Have you guys seen the It's Corn kid? I just really love wholesome things, and this kid was so wholesome and sweet, and his love for corn went viral, and I made a composition notebook about him, and I really need ratings and reviews on it. So if you would love to get this book and you can help me out with ratings and reviews, I'd be eternally grateful. A couple things going on in January. The first is I'm having another retreat. Okay, this will be a 5-day retreat, and again we're going to be in Isla Mujeres. My second event is the Greater Reset 4 in Morelia. Now this is for people who are interested in personal sovereignty and coming up with solutions for a new and changing world. Many of these people are the freedom fighters that you've been seeing online over the past 3 years who have not bought into the propaganda, and the crowd is, and the group and the gathering is going to be so immense and beautiful. There are over 200 people attending so far. I would love to see you there. My workshop will be on the first Sunday. It's a workshop about authentic connection, so you don't want to miss this one. You're going to absolutely love Morelia. Mexican food, architecture, people. You're going to get the real, true experience of Mexico here in Morelia, and I would love to see you there. I am excited for both of those things. I'm super excited to be in Isla Mujeres again. That place is a place out of a dream scenario. I didn't know anything that perfect could exist, and I remember my first night there. I got there early before the retreat began, and walking out in the evening and seeing, it was like quiet, and there were like a bunch of people, like families and people just in the ocean. And the water was like perfectly clear, you know, a little bit of waves, warm. It was so beautiful and peaceful. And I could have just stayed there. I stayed there until I wrinkled all over. And then I got up and left. But we're going to have a grand time. And I'm super stoked to meet some more of you who have only been following me online for many, many years. Come on out. Come to Mexico. And let's do this. Thanks so much for watching. See you again soon. Bye.